Democratic Governance, IDEG, together with some political parties, are challenging the Electoral Commission's interpretation of the sections of the Political Parties Act. According to IDEG, the National Democratic Party and the Convention People's Party demands by the Electoral Commission for political parties to have offices in 2/3 of districts in the country out of all the other political parties in the country is not in order.
The Electoral Commission is currently demanding all political parties furnish it with their audited accounts and evidence of their presence in 2/3 of all 216 districts in the country before May 31. According to IDEG, the Electoral Commission's interpretation of the Political Parties Act does not consider innovative use of technology and stifles multi-party democracy. Out of the 275, National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party are commanding more than 98% of the seats.
If we enforce this law and we get rid of all these very many small parties, how many parties will be left? About 2 or 3. I don't think this is the kind of democracy we want. The kind of democracy that we have embarked upon since 1992 is a participatory one. And so if in the process of enforcing a particular law, this participatory element is going to be taken out, I'm afraid, then this will not be the kind of democracy that we are all looking for. We should be very careful here.
According to the presidential candidate of the NDP, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings, the move by the Electoral Commission is undemocratic.
The law as it stands or is going to be implemented by the Electoral Commission is unacceptable. It is undemocratic. It does not live up to the modern times that we are in. There are people who may not even go beyond having everything on social media, and that's where they're going to do their campaign. Are you saying they should have human beings standing there at a rally before they can talk to them?
Speaking on the sidelines of a workshop organized by IDEG and its Danish partners to help encourage inclusive multi-party democracy, the chairman of the Convention People's Party, Professor Edmond Dele, wants the smaller parties to petition the EC.
I think that this is a forum for them to discuss, and then we probably petition and then have a dialogue and let us see what we can get out of it. Because we need everybody to be part of our political dispensation.
Other political parties in support of the proposal included the UFP, GCPP, IPP, DPP, and the PPP.
Right, so let's do some analysis now. We'll be speaking to Bernard Mona shortly on this issue. But now we have Albert Kofi Ayin, who is National Coordinator of CODEO, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. He's joining us now. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
Thank you. Now, IDEG is saying that the demand by the Electoral Commission for political parties to have offices in 2/3 of districts in the country could wipe out all other political parties and leave NDC and MPP. Do you see it that way?
It's possible. You know, what has happened is that I blame the political parties. I've just heard some arguments that some of them are saying it is not going to work. But you see, the question is, why have they kept quiet all this while? If the law was inimical, for example, that they think that the political parties' law is such that they cannot, abide by the requirements. For more than so many years now, they should have at IPAC mentioned this to the commission. I remember very well Dr. Frejani in the initial stages said, these parties who are not conforming to the requirements of the law should be given some time to grow. And that was more than 10 years ago. That was more than 10 years ago. And I remember also that to form a party, it was a joke. The political parties law is saying that every party has to be national in character. It has to be national in character. That is why
and that you would say is fair to insist that political parties have a national character.
They should have a national character. Not even now I'm insisting. The law is there saying that they should be national in character. If you look at the political parties law, that is what it's saying. And that is why they go around all the regions when they are filling the form to founders in every district. If you want to form a party, you must have founding fathers in all the districts. You put their names there, their addresses, their phone numbers. You see? So all this while, if this law was America, if this law was not something they could do, then why have they waited till this time? That is that is the problem I have with them.
Now, you put the blame squarely at the doorstep of the political parties, but what about the Electoral Commission? Wouldn't you say that EC has been loose in ensuring strict compliance with the political parties' law?
Yes, they have been loose. That is a fact. They have waited too long to crack the whip. They have waited for too long to crack the whip. And now that they want to do it, you see, they are doing it at a time when it's very close to this election. So maybe what the parties can do now is to dialogue with the commission for this election to come pass, and then they take a second look at the law. Because if they really want to implement it, like you rightly said from the beginning, then a lot of parties will be wiped off.
Yeah.
You see, if you look at some of the parties, to be honest with you, they don't need to exist because they don't have a membership.
But Mezahin, you talk about
the membership is not even there.
Mezahin, but you talk about dialoguing. I need to find out whether the law permits political parties who do not meet the 2/3 offices requirement set under the law. There is provision for this kind of dialogue. I mean, if you don't meet the requirement, then you should be kicked out.
You don't meet the requirement, that's it. No, you see, then it means that they will have to amend the law. That is what they maybe have to do. Yeah, but as it stands now, if the commission wants to implement it, then a lot of them will be wiped off. Because you see, if you look at the law strictly, you went around, you got the members from all the districts, they have signed that they are co-founders, they are this and that. And then if they are saying that they should have 2/3 offices, then you kept quiet, and then you acquiesced, you didn't worry about it. Now that the commission wants to crack the whip, they are screaming.
But do you foresee a compromise in this situation from
I
the
don't
EC?
know. I don't know what the commission is trying to do now. Maybe they are very serious and they want to crack the whip. And I cannot tell what is going to happen.
But I mean, if the law is there, the commission has no choice than to implement the law and go by the letter of the law, unless
the law is there black and white.
Unless the parties which are threatening to take action perhaps go to court and challenge the basis of that law for it to be reviewed, and that could take 4 years.
Of course. If they want to challenge it, then they have to go to court.
Right, Ms. Ayin, we're grateful for your time. Thanks very much for sharing your views with us. Mr. Albert Kofi Ahin is the National Coordinator of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO. He is sharing his view on suggestions that have been made by IDEC that the EC's insistence on fully applying the elections law in Ghana could wipe out a lot of the other political parties and leave behind NDC and MPP. He says that if the EC goes ahead to stick by that demand that political parties should have 2/3 offices across the country, that could be inimical and might perhaps create the impressions in the minds of people that the EC is in favor of a two major party system, NDC and MPP. Let's quickly hear from Bernard Mona, who is the national chairman of the PNC. He's joining us. Mr. Mona, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Senior.
I know we're undergoing a lot of experimentation with our democratic discourse. You have gone to court, challenge aspects of the law which you sought interpretation and all of that. Are you going to go to court to perhaps ask for a review of the law which mandates that political parties must have 2/3 offices across the country to have a national character?
Well, thank you so much. First and foremost, at the time of registering a political party, you are expected to have 2/3 present in all the districts of this country, or in two-thirds of the districts in this country. And beyond that, you are supposed to be national in character. So it is assumed, as Ian Ward-Brew put it, that by having the two-thirds presence in the districts of this country, what it means is that at best, you are registered. And we have argued at IPAC, and that is very strange to me that we have the Secretary of CODEO saying that we have not made arguments at IPAC. Maybe he needs to revise his notes on that. We have made arguments at IPAC that once a political party meets the requirement and is registered, to ask for annual re-registration, it's like you have obtained a birth certificate, and then every year they ask you to come to the birth registry to come and obtain another certificate. The second thing that we have said is that these days, and I just used myself as an example, today, my general secretary was somewhere in Dodowa, I was somewhere in Afienya, and my national organizer was in Accra. We had a conference call and we had a meeting, which we documented. So given modern ways of doing things, you can hold a meeting, you can hold your offices without necessarily having physical structures.
Yeah.
I have indicated at IPAC that if in our country, and I am a product of schools and the trees, then it is possible that political parties can have offices and the trees. And that we have been meeting there.
But you don't see anything wrong if political parties have offices under trees?
What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? That is where we meet. That is where decisions are taken. But if you say an office, what is a functional office? My understanding of a functional office is that you must have a structure with furnishing and fittings. Unfortunately, most of the places that we paint and you see our insignia there, does not necessarily mean that it contains anything office. It's just some structure that is there. Nobody is there. You can't find anybody working there. So to me, it is a waste of money to continue to have these structures that we don't use for any purpose. So we have made the argument.
You say it's a waste of money, but let's look at...
The Electoral Commission has not been able to define for us what a functional office is.
So with this uncertainty you're expressing, do you get the feeling that the Electoral Commission perhaps is deliberately trying to enforce this law to shift other political parties off the radar so that NDC and MPP will be the two main parties going into the elections? Do you have that kind of suspicion?
I do not think so. The Electoral Commission, we are meeting tomorrow at IPAC, and I'm sure that this is one of the issues we discuss. We have been discussing this matter not only it will not be discussed only at tomorrow's meetings. We have discussed on many occasions, and I'm sure that we'll take another look at it. Having said that, the PNC is making efforts to be able to meet that expectation. But I think that, honestly speaking, to insist that you must have physical structures across this country that largely we do not operate, we do not use,
right?
For me, it's a usurpation of our resources.
Right, Mr. Mona, thanks very much for your time. We're grateful for sharing your views on this matter. My name is Stephen Ente here.